Hi, I'm Sunny, and this is episode 4 of Such Great Heights. Thanks to everyone who watched or listened to episode 3 of Such Great Heights with Kev from Big Scary Monsters. I had tons of great comments and feedback, with plenty of people sharing it online, so thank you for that. If you're yet to subscribe to Such Great Heights on iTunes or YouTube, please do click subscribe so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. It also really helps this podcast to grow. I'd love to hear your comments and guest suggestions on social media or below in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. On Twitter, you can tweet at SuchGreat, and on Facebook, you can find us by searching Such Great, all one word. For episode 4, I travelled back to Norwich to meet with Dan Allen, illustrator and frontman of Ducking Punches. I spent much of my younger years hosting gigs and supporting the Norwich music scene, so I've seen the rise of Ducking Punches firsthand. We discuss the punk community, touring the UK and Europe, illustration, and much, much more. If you enjoyed the episode, please click the thumbs up button on SoundCloud and YouTube, or rate the podcast 5 stars on iTunes. It all helps this podcast to get bigger, meaning more and more great guests. I'll see you on the other side. Dan Allen, how you doing?
I'm very good, man. How are you?
Good, yeah, I'm doing good. Back in Norwich for just a short while, and a slightly cloudy wet day. But
Yeah, it was nicer earlier.
yeah, we didn't pick the time quite so well. But so I always start the podcast the same way. What's your earliest music memory?
Earliest music memory? It's probably my dad putting records on when I was really young.
Yeah.
'Cause he kind of got me into punk and
Okay.
ska, because that's what he listened to. He loved ska,
Oh, nice.
and that's why I played in a terrible ska band called Blasphemy.
Okay. Oh,
like-
nice.
But like the pun doesn't work when you go down south, because it's only like from Peterborough upwards,
Yeah.
Blasphemy. But then if you say Blasphemy, it's not even a
Oh,
pun.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's only
that's
half
true.
the country it works.
So what kind of stuff would you listen to?
My dad, yeah, he loved the Jam, and then he used to listen to like the Specials, the Beat,
Yeah.
Selector,
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. Loads of Blondie. So like I remember just dancing around to those as a kid as he'd put records on, and sort of really sort of finding a love for it. And then I remember was it the first CD, or like I can't remember my first CD, but I remember at the same time buying Dookie, Green Day,
Yeah.
and Korn, Life is Peachy on the same day,
That sounds good.
and I hated the Korn album.
Yeah.
So like my life could have gone in a completely
So
different
you're
direction.
At a tangent,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Luckily, I went down the punk route, but
Who knows where you'd be if.
I could be recording a new metal
Yeah.
album right now.
So basically, I went to the gig in Camden at the Monarch
Mhm.
the other day, which was great, sold out, and
Yeah.
same with the Norwich one here as well. You talked about the punk community in Peterborough.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about getting into that community and what it did for you.
Okay. So I remember, like, I must have been about 15, going to shows at the Met Lounge in Peterborough. Not really knowing anyone. I knew one guy from school.
Yeah.
Andrew Cream, actually. You know Andrew Cream?
Don't think I do. No.
Yeah, him and my friend Chaz, actually, we used to go to shows. But we were like just lost kids. And then there was a group of they were slightly older punks, so they were probably in early 20s.
Yeah.
And they kind of took us under their wing, and they sort of introduced us to propaganda and sort of vegetarianism and ethics. And so it really shaped my life.
That's really cool.
Those guys sort of taking us under their wing, and it's really hard for kids nowadays, I think, because so many venues are 18 plus.
Yeah.
It was never an issue for me when I was growing up. I
Yeah.
could go to any show I wanted. So yeah, I mean, just those guys looking out for us and sort of, making sure we were safe and having fun.
Yeah.
Sort of really sort of you just felt the kindness and the unity of the scene,
Yeah.
which is like completely why I fell in love with it, because it's unlike any other genre, I think.
Yeah.
In that respect.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, I mean, sort of going back to the ferry boat days in Norwich as well. I remember that was sort of when I felt a connection to like the Norwich music scene and everything. And you'd go there, and there was just something about that kind of place, and punk in general. I mean, punk shows, as we'll get onto a bit later, there is just something about it.
Yeah, what I really like, everyone supports each other's band. It's not like it's not a competition like it is in some other scenes.
It's not cliquey.
Yeah. It's, it's open, and it's, everyone supports each other, and that just like I really connected with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So when it comes to bands prior to Ducking Punches, where did it all begin?
So my first ever band was a band called Your Sweet Legacy. We were just this shitty pop punk band with Tom, who now plays drums in Deaf Havana.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, like, we went to school together, and that was our first band.
Yeah.
And like I remember we were going on tour, but we weren't even 17, so none of us could drive.
Yeah.
So we did a tour on a train.
Oh, right.
With like amps and like drum hardware and stuff, and it was fucking fun.
Yeah.
Like, we had loads of fun, but looking back at it now, it's such a ball ache. Like, no way I would do that. But
I can't imagine sort of being that age at the moment.
But we just wanted to play so badly that we just did whatever it took.
So what about after that? So
after that, did that band. Then we had a band called Car Crash Lullaby, which is kind of emo-y stuff. And another band called Self Confessed Lies, which is another sort of emo band. And then I was in a hardcore band for a bit called Risers One. We played with like Bring Me the Horizon and Anti-Flag and stuff. And then Blasphemy, which is like that terrible ska band. Blasphemy. With my little brother who was in it as well.
Oh, cool.
We did some cool shows. We played like some festivals and did a few tours, and like, I remember we played with The Beat, and my dad came. My dad cried because it was like his favourite band, and both his sons were in it. Yeah.
That must have been a big deal.
That was it was huge for him.
Yeah.
I didn't really know who The Beat were. But and then that broke up, and I didn't want to stop playing shows, so I just picked up an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And just did it just because I had to play music.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of got out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we are.
I think, once you get into the mindset of having that creative output, I think especially, maybe early teens or even, later teens, when you maybe don't have as much choice because there's not much to do, basically.
Yeah,
for
absolutely,
younger people, you kind of get into it that way. I mean, you play, obviously, solo and in a band for Ducking Punches. So when did it, how many gigs were you doing solo until maybe it became a band thing?
So it didn't become a full band until I moved to Norwich. So I recorded the first album just solo, and then I was hanging out with Pete in that quite a lot. He's one of the first people I met actually when I moved here. So we did I was chatting to him about Mild Peril and stuff, because he used to run that fanzine. And and then we just sort of got chatting, and sort of he was the first person to ever be in the band. We did an EP, and we had Josie was playing violin, who was like a mate from uni. And she was great, she was really good. And we had Rob Willow on double bass to start with. It's quite folky. And it kind of went away from that, and I met Cal when I was working at Shoe. In the stock room, like a little gremlin. and then him and Sophie kind of joined the band. I think I played Sophie's 18th birthday.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, her mum booked me to play it. And that's how I met her.
That's cool.
And then she moved to Norwich, and then she got in the band. And then Serge, we managed to coax. He'd not played violin for 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, and I kind of didn't realise that he played violin.
Yeah.
We were looking for a violinist, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm like grade 8 violin. I've not played it for 10 years." I was like, "Oh mate, you gotta do it."
Bring him in.
So then he got forced into playing the little neck guitar. And now we got the new lineup because we were touring so much. and it was getting really stressful for those guys because they've got jobs.
Yeah.
And we sort of decided. I was like, I'd much rather, if you're not comfortable doing it, or if it's stressing you out, let's sort of, figure out some other options. Because I'd rather we're still friends than like run it into the ground.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
and it just caused loads of tension. So we're like best mates still, which is
That's
great.
good. Yeah, there's a lot of potential for that. I mean, it is sort of like being in a marriage to your bandmates.
Absolutely,
And touring or playing gigs, there's a lot of stress and.
Yeah, and and it's just takes up so much time and money.
Yeah, definitely, it's a big commitment. I think certainly people who aren't within bands or the music community, just they don't see that side. They just see the gigs and just go,
oh yeah,
just rock
cool,
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting seeing the new lineup, and how it's changed, but there's obviously still the the soul of the last band and everything. And you signed with Xtra Mile. When was that?
So it's for the last album. So probably it must have been about February last year. We released it in April.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they're always.
They're great. They've got some amazing bands on that label.
Did that change sort of the band dynamic? Did that sort of make any changes at all?
What was really good about it is we were kind of like welcomed into a family.
Yeah.
Like the Xtra Mile family's super tight, and like all the bands know each other and like get on, and the fans are like really supportive of every band on that label.
Yeah.
Which is quite unheard of.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool. And just their ethics and their dynamic is great, and it's awesome to be a part of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, they've got the reputation of like great band after great band sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Some
surprised.
Ridiculous bands.
Yeah, not surprised people go to them for who to listen to next, basically.
Yeah.
But in terms of touring, because you've toured sort of relentlessly, really, solo and in a band.
Yeah.
When did that start, and how did it start? I guess?
Well, I guess it came out of like it's kind of a necessity. Like when you first start touring, you just like, I've got to get my music out there too.
Yeah, definitely.
Emailing people like whoever would listen, like, can you put us on?
Yeah.
And then just doing that relentlessly, forcing it upon people, really.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love touring. I love seeing the world.
Yeah.
We make a real sort of effort to go and see the town that we're in and stop off on the way, because you can get it's quite easy to get caught up in just seeing venues.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you've been to all these places, but you've not seen anything.
Exactly.
So we kind of go out of our way to, try and experience where you're travelling to.
Yeah.
Because I think that's important. It's pointless travelling otherwise.
Yeah. Part of me feels kind of sympathy to those bands who are on a massive bus and like sleeper buses, and then they wake up and then they're magically in the next place.
Yeah.
And it's the journey is part of the fun. Like
I
being
think so.
stuck in a van, or I mean, how did you do it solo? Did you?
So I don't drive, so either on trains, or I've had mates that have driven me around, or we've done it like, if it's part of it, like a tour package, if there's a couple of us.
Yeah, that sounds good.
It's quite easy because I've done it we've done it in cars before.
Yeah.
It's like just jump in a car, it's dead easy.
I think, we were saying before starting this, I really think more bands, anyone who's maybe watching or listening to this, should just go for it, basically. And I mean, there's something about Europe. It's easy to get to. You get, generally you get a better payment, you get a place to stay, you get fed, and they have a lot more, support from, I guess, government and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, I just think people should, just try as hard as you can to get on the road. And kind of the way that I did it, because we've just been DIY the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, we've not really had booking agents, we've never had management.
Yeah.
So because I was promoting, putting on loads of shows in Norwich, made loads of contacts that way with people who also put on shows. And that's kind of how the DIY scene works. You kind of help each other out.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I would urge people to put on shows, to sort of get out there, to tour as much as you can.
Yeah.
That's financially viable.
Definitely. What differences do you see between UK shows and European shows?
It's just there's there's like an overwhelming hospitality in Europe, which is just, I think it's just ingrained in sort of mainland Europe as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, they want to make sure you're looked after, and you know, I guess it's not as there's so many bands around the UK.
Yeah.
It's not quite as many out there. And it's great. I love it. I love touring out there, and because you can go to so many different countries, and it's completely different.
Yeah.
And I like, just even in Germany, town to town's completely different.
And there's just so many venues and so many
Yeah.
great bands. And I mean, I always used to like, having gone over there, I quite like the fact that you can do England, France, Germany, Luxembourg,
Yeah.
or Belgium and Luxembourg in a day.
Yeah,
Like
it's
4
crazy,
countries in
isn't
a
it?
day. But I mean, you were saying before this as well, some of the places that you've been to. So how far did you get to?
We've gone to like Serbia, we've done all of Scandinavia, Budapest, Poland. So we've gone quite far east, and it's all been great. But I mean, this last tour, because I think the UK is getting better.
Yeah.
I really do. The last tour we were treated so well here. And I think the UK's got a bad rep, but it's getting really good.
Yeah.
And I think promoters and people in general are realising that, you know, if we don't sort of treat people right and go to shows, we'll lose it. Because there's so many American bands that come over and just play one UK show.
Yeah.
They'll do loads in Europe.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, I think people have kind of realised that there was a potential to lose, you know, a lot of our scene.
Definitely.
And I think it's stepped up, and I think that's great.
That is good. Yeah. I mean, I would love it if there were more sort of government funding for the venues, because it's such a shame that there's been so many venues closed or turned into flats or.
Yeah, I mean, we're losing them at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
You know, small venues are really suffering. You know, and they'll build flats next to a venue that's been there for 50 years and then complain about the noise.
Yeah,
and it's like,
it is insane.
You just moved in next to a music venue.
What do you expect to happen, basically? But you previously toured with Frank Turner.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when he got injured? Was it?
Yeah, so I was already guitar teching for him, and then he hurt his back, and he went to doctors, and they said, you know, you can't do this tour.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I want to.
Yeah.
Because he is always on tour. And he just said, what if I don't play guitar? The doctor was like, you know, okay.
Yeah.
So I got a call, like, out of the blue.
Yeah.
Oh, Dan, can you learn 25 songs in a week?
No way.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. We're doing it. Come on tour. You can play guitar for me. I was like, sweet. Yeah, let's do it. And it was so much fun. You know, it was pretty. I remember the 5th show of that tour was in Mannheim supporting Die Totenhosen.
Okay.
Which is like that massive German band.
Yeah.
To like 40,000 people, I think it was.
No way.
And I just sort of have never even seen that many people.
Yeah.
And I still to this day can't remember that show because my adrenaline was through the roof.
Yeah, kind of blank memory, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you learn the songs in a week.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess,
concentrating, not fucking it up.
I guess, like, you know, tour is live practice for the tracks and everything, but to just go force gig in 40,000 people is just insane. It was nice to see him at the gig as well, the Monarch.
Yeah, it was cool. He's been really supportive of our band, actually.
Yeah.
He's a good old boy.
He is good. So, and also with the being at the Monarch in Camden and on this tour, could you talk a little bit about safe gigs for women and them being on there?
Okay, so Safe Gigs for Women is an institution that shouldn't have to exist, but they do, because every single female friend that I've spoken to has experienced some kind of assault, or someone just making them feel uncomfortable at every show, and that's every single person I've spoken to.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realise how big a problem it is, and it's something that needs to be stamped out.
Yeah. And
I think just having safe gigs at a show, just their mere presence will make people think twice.
Yeah.
And we just need to change attitudes. People need to stop being assholes.
Yeah.
it's not that difficult not to touch someone who doesn't want to be touched.
Exactly.
But it happens a lot, and Safe Gigs are doing this great thing, and their awareness is skyrocketing.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant, and I'm so glad that they do exist,
Yeah.
even though I wish they didn't have to.
No, definitely, and the same with Girls Against. They've kind of, I think they're doing a sort of similar thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's been great to see a lot of bands talking about it on stage, like like you guys, as well as other touring bands with Girls Against, and like you say, it shouldn't have to happen, but at least hopefully this is the start of changing the behaviour.
I think so. Yeah, especially after that whole thing with that Cabbage band.
Oh, that's right.
And and Safe Gigs were on the BBC, and they were contacted for that, and it's great that people are fucking paying attention.
Yeah, definitely. So I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about illustration.
Yes.
And I mean, your work is great, and the fact that it's kind of coincided with music.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that stem from?
I've always drawn. Like, since I was a little kid, I loved drawing. I've always loved art. I've just loved anything creative, I think.
Yeah.
But I dropped out of 2 different art degrees. Because, well, the first one I was doing animation, and then it just turned out to be like, we're working this program called Maya, and it was more like computer programming and anything else. I just really wasn't feeling it. And then the second time, I was doing illustration, but my tutors hated my work.
No.
And at this point, I was kind of getting commissions, so I just thought, I'm just going to take the same approach to this as I do with music, and I'm just going to do it on my own.
Definitely.
Why am I paying someone to say they don't like my work? And, so I just did that, and then finally I've taken the leap, was it August last year, to go full time with it.
Oh,
so
great.
now I just do art and music for a living.
That's
and
the dream.
It is, yeah, it's incredible. It's a struggle sometimes, but it's great.
I think there is that thing with creative people in general, the struggle of doing what you love and just.
Yeah.
But then it's that thing. I mean, obviously you could have a 9-to-5 office job, but you wouldn't have your creative outlet. And
and it would really depress me, I think.
Yeah.
I really struggle if I'm not creating something.
Yeah. So how is that kind of coincided with music? I mean, I know you've done sort of tour posters and.
Yeah, I mean, because I know a lot of bands from like promoting and stuff.
Yeah.
I just kind of fell into doing band artwork and shirt designs and album covers, and I love doing it. I think there's quite a lot of freedom with it, rather than sort of a commercial side of doing something for a business.
Yeah.
It's it's really freeing, and a lot of the time bands will come to me and be like, "Oh, this is our band, this is our album, do what you want." Yeah. And I love that. Just give me a title, and then I can just run with it, and it's great.
No, that sounds good. And I mean, going back to your point, I do find it funny I guess the education system with creativity when it comes to sort of degrees, because you know what you're doing, you're good at what you do, so do you need a diploma for it?
Well, yeah.
I mean, it obviously teaches you a lot, and I'm just the same. I did a music management degree, and there's things that it taught me, but there's certain things that didn't change before, sort of, or after.
I think, the thing with creative education is it's so subjective. So it's kind of hard to give someone a grade on art, which is, it's quite a strange concept. Yeah. It as like, art as a whole, But, I learned a lot of stuff going to school, loads of techniques, and which is important. If I hadn't studied and done that, then, I'd just be doing the same old stuff that I've always done.
Yeah, definitely. So what about when you're on tour? I mean, is it just a clean break from illustration, or do you get to sort of tinker about whilst you're...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time, if I'm going away, I'll do all my drawing at home, scan it into my computer, and then I'll colour it on tour. Yeah. Because I can't, obviously don't have access to a scanner, so I don't really draw on tour. And also, quite hard to draw in a van.
Yeah. Cramped van. Yeah. So we're at this point where you've got a few dates coming up in Ireland, is it?
Yep.
And then you've got a European tour.
Yep.
From sort of this point on, maybe in a year, what would you like? What is the plan for Duck and Punches? Where would you like for it to go?
So the plan for me, I remember being 16 and making myself a promise that by the time I'm 30, I will be in a full-time band.
Yeah.
I'm 29. It's very close to actually
Almost
happening.
there.
So yeah, I mean, just doing it full-time would be incredible.
Yeah.
That's kind of the goal with it. But yeah, we just want to be on the road as much as possible. We're gonna like be recording the new album in September.
Yeah.
With Bob Cooper.
Okay.
'Cause I just love how he records guitars.
Yeah.
He's so good. So yeah, we're doing that, and then so that album will come out early next year, and then we're just gonna be touring that relentlessly for the whole of next year.
Are you going to be doing any festivals, do you think? Or
we're doing 2,000 Trees. We've got a couple of festivals in Europe. Yeah, I think that's all we've got at the moment. We've got a couple of smaller festivals like Kind Fest in Lincoln and Moose Fest in Orpington, I think it is.
Okay.
Somewhere in Kent.
Yeah. I'll put some dates up.
Yeah.
If you're watching this on YouTube, they'll be on there. So, for any young new musicians that might be listening or watching, what kind of advice would you give them for, succeeding in music and being creative?
Well, there's a few points I'd say. Like, number one, consistently write, like constantly write. I have like my notes on my phone.
Yeah.
It's just full of lyrics. I just, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll just write down real quick.
Yeah.
Because it's surprising how like inspiration will come to you at the weirdest times. So
Definitely.
I just kind of like to write it down as much as possible. So yeah, I mean, like, always be on it. And you've got to work hard. You've got to really want it. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. But you've got to, you've got to really believe in your own band, I guess. If you think your band's shit, then so will everyone else. So you've got to try and I just suggest touring as much as you possibly can.
Mm.
You don't want to oversaturate your market. Obviously, you don't want to play Norwich every weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, getting out and touring is really important for new bands. Well, for any band.
Yeah. And what about if they, trying to get gigs out of your town, out of your city? What would you recommend?
I mean, there's so many good promoters, and there's loads of Facebook groups now for sort of DIY promoters, which never used to exist.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful, I think.
Yeah.
But also, I'd suggest putting on your own shows, because that really helps, and it helps to not only will it help your own band, but it helps to support the scene.
Yeah.
It helps to bring music to your city. So you don't have to travel. You can see all your favourite bands in your own town.
And I think just sort of learning the process of what goes into a gig.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think the more DIY, the more independent you can become, and within a DIY scene and everything, the better.
Yeah, it's great. I think the less middlemen, the better.
Yeah, definitely.
It just gets convoluted and confusing, and there's too many people involved.
And another percentage to pay out to someone
Absolutely,
else to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it. So
thanks
for your time. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks so much to Dan for taking the time to talk to me. Ducking Punches have tons of UK and European dates coming up. I really recommend you go watch them live. All the dates can be found on their Facebook page. If you enjoyed our talk, please click like on whichever platform you're using. New video content will be up on YouTube very soon. Search for Such Great Heights podcast and you'll find me. I recently discussed growing a following on Twitter for bands, which you might find useful. Subscribe to show your support. The theme song for Such Great Heights is by Prey Drive. They've just released their new song, Like Animals. I'll be sharing the link to it on our social media pages and in the description of the YouTube video. For now, join the conversation online. And if you know anyone who might enjoy this podcast, please spread the word. Sharing is caring. Until next time, ta-ra.